So during this journey, I've been working my regular full-time job, and I do feel like my job taps into spiritual gifts of like knowing technology, math, analysis, but I do get triggered all the time. And I just want to know like when do you know to tap out of something, or when do you allow the triggers to help you like grow spiritually? Because I do encounter a lot of themes of like manipulation that I'm working through, or like control, authority in the workplace, but it's
Mhm.
also a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. So we get triggered throughout this process. And as we go through our healing, our purification, we can actually see triggers as a gift from the world, from other people, from circumstances that help us to move through things that we've been carrying very quickly. Because we don't have to go in and dig it up ourselves. People are going to dig it up for us. So that's the benefit of being triggered. Overall, you could say it's a good thing. However, of course, if everything were triggered all at once in this one moment, it's too much. Our system couldn't handle it. It's not healthy. It's unsustainable. And so on top of that, we also don't want to um, equate any and all trigger as something good because there are sometimes we get triggered and we're just being abused. And, we don't have to say this is good for my healing and growth when actually it's abuse and we need to leave. Right. And so being in a job where you're getting triggered makes it challenging because, like you said, you're describing like some control, some manipulation. Whether that's abuse, it can be argued. Of course, there are sometimes very high conflict characters in the workplace, right? And so one thing that we can do is you can really listen to your body and see like are you able to um tolerate this type of treatment, or is it really unsustainable and just too much for your system to handle? Sometimes we can say, yeah, I don't like that I'm getting triggered. It's uncomfortable, but could I get through it? Yeah, I could. Will it help my process? Yeah. So then those types of triggers, okay, this is everyday friction, but there's sometimes where it's just too much. And actually what, this path, this process, the divine is asking is for us to stand up and get out of somewhere that no longer serves us. So step into our own power, to stand up for ourselves, to care for ourselves, maybe to move past any people-pleasing tendencies or some fear of maybe not being supported by the universe or by God. So therefore, we keep ourselves in these situations out of fear, out of scarcity. So sometimes we're pushed to find the courage to leave. So I can't, of course, tell you whether to stay or to go, but you can use these ideas to tune into yourself and say, am I being pushed out of this situation, or is this something that I can tolerate and it will help me? Am I learning something by staying in here, or is the real lesson going to come when I leave? And so these are some of the ways that we can inquire into whether staying in any situation, be it a family situation, relationship, job, for example, is what you're meant to do. For myself, I can share like some of the experiences I've had where I was going through this process. All sorts of material is coming up from the unconscious. Lots of trauma, lots of things are getting triggered in me. Um, I was working at a um, car dealership, and I was working in the one department, and I was working there for like very short amount of time. The two people in the department there, they just happened through the flow, I guess they had to leave for a couple weeks. And so they last minute left me in charge of this entire department. I wasn't trained properly. I was going through all of this Kundalini upheaval, and I was not in a position where I could handle this. I couldn't handle responsibility for this whole department on top of what I was going through. And so my challenge was not to find a way to accept and to, figure out how to do that. My challenge was to stand up and say, hey, this is not something that's fair, and I need to leave. And on top of that, leave and say, well, I'll deal with the consequences of leaving this job and the income, and hopefully, I'm supported. It turns out that I was very well supported. That was the best thing that I could have done in the moment. I had to work through some guilt. I felt so guilty of, abandoning this poor multi-million dollar business that, was inconvenienced ever so slightly by me leaving. But I felt so guilty about this. And then, I spoke to a friend, and my friend said, there's like 100 people that would gladly take this job within the next second. So don't worry about it, Brent. You're just fine. You don't have to feel guilty. That's business, and they set you up to fail. And so I worked through so much of my own, boundary stuff, confidence stuff, self-esteem stuff, trust in the universe, trust in this process. All of this stuff worked out in that sort of scenario there. Whereas for other people, sometimes the friction isn't so intense, like what I was faced with, and you can kind of go through it, and it can actually be used to further refine you without having to leave. You have to gauge and see for yourself. You kind of have to take stock of your life, and intuitively, you probably already know what it is. You probably already know. But these are some ways to kind of discern how to move forward with the flow, and ultimately remembering, if you're meant to be somewhere, you'll be there, and if you're not, well, you won't be able to be there or stay there. And so, we participate in what's already kind of laid out for us, which makes it pretty interesting. So I hope that can help you a little bit, Ducey.